The things that matter to me in my life are relationships with family, my assistant's dog Molly, having a purpose in life, and a good end to my life. These are the things that matter to me. As life goes on, it's important to talk about what matters, to let others know your wishes, fears and goals for the future.
Having those what matters to me conversations, it's particularly important through this pandemic, because how can people around us know what we want if we haven't opened up to them and told them?
I came at the age of 9 from Kashmir. To think that boy from that mud hut has done well in Bradford, hopefully I'd like to contribute to the betterment of society in the UK and elsewhere in the world.
My dog used to volunteer in Animal Sanctuary, and he was one of the rescue dogs that come in, so I've had him almost 10 years.
My children are the most important thing to me, and I love painting and drawing with eye-gaze technology. I'm writing my memoir, which has lots of sex, drugs and rock and roll.
I'm into cars, I love cars. Every minute I'm under the bonnet, I'm underneath it, I'm trying to fix this or fix things on it.
I run marathons, half marathons, run every Sunday morning.
Feminism really matters to me, particularly at the minute in the current climate. I've started to be thinking more about inequalities in healthcare for women. LGBTQ rights really matter to me as well, and as a queer woman, so those are things that are important to me.
Satisfying work, my wife, my dogs.
Top of my list at the moment is family.
Spending time with family. With friends.
To be warm.
What was important to me pre-COVID is totally different from what it is now. I used to love to be well groomed. My nails were always well done. Not important anymore. What is important now for me is to be alive, to have good health, and to go on holiday. I mean, I so want a holiday. So the three of us as a family were hit very badly by COVID. My husband ended up being hospitalized in intensive care. While he was in hospital ventilated, a number of things went through my mind, because my husband and I had never talked about where he would want to be, whether he would want to be home, where he would want to be buried. Nothing of those wishes had been aired between me and my husband. Now we know what's going to happen. I know what is very important to him, and I think he also knows what is important to me as well.
We don't ask often enough about what is it that's most important to people, what matters most to them. If we know that, when health and social care are engaged in trying to help people in the last part of their lives, then at least they will know how they can focus their care and what they can do to make things better.
So what I always say is, well, let's just start from building up trust, building up a relationship, talking to somebody about what actually living well means to them.
It's a process of many conversations about getting to know someone, being nosy, being curious, finding out more about them and their close ones, their family members, their friends, and what they value, what they treasure.
So what matters most as a question, if we really listen to the answer, the medical treatments will just fall into place.
I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to have a conversation. I didn't want the plan. But my goodness, that plan enabled him to be in his own bed, listening to the owls with his favourite music, with his cat on the bed, us coming in and out, favourite food until the last few minutes. You know, it was a privilege, you know, and it is a huge consolation in our grief, and we have no regrets as a family, and I know from other stories from families how precious that is.
So what I teach is that if I was dying and I wasn't able to speak for myself, I wouldn't want you coming near me with a flannel, because it really hurts my skin when somebody does that to me. Nobody's going to know about that unless I've told them. So they could be causing me pain at a time when they really want to be helping me and caring for me.
People who are dying need to know that their loved ones are in a safe place emotionally and are secure. I've been in situations where people have decided that they want to try and protect their family, and they try and protect them by shutting down conversation. That is worse than anything, both for themselves and for the family that really want to be part of that.
Families can be left with a terrible feeling of guilt if they feel they couldn't do the right thing for their loved one. If they were asked to make decisions for their loved one towards the end of life and they just didn't know. They didn't know what their loved one really wanted. Those feelings of guilt can be as high as post-traumatic stress. And that's the last thing I would want for my family.
If you just talk about treatment, you're not really going to get the essence of the person, and you're not going to find out what their priorities are.
The care I receive will be more important to me than the treatment, I think.
We had a patient who was brought in as an inpatient, very unwell, didn't have any family members, but there was one thing that he was bothered about. It wasn't about his medical needs. He came in and said, I've been brought in by ambulance and I've left my parrot out of its cage. It's flying around at home and somebody needs to sort this parrot out because if you don't, I'm going to leave the hospital. We managed to get a parrot specialist to come in and capture the parrot for him, look after the parrot until he was able to go home and then be back home with his parrot, and home was where he wanted to be at the end of the day.
We've been encouraging doctors and nurses and carers and families to think ahead to what would be important to them if they were nearing the end of life. I mean, sometimes it can become quite clear to me that my patient doesn't want to talk to me about it, and that's absolutely fine.
There are certain cultures that don't discuss or engage in end-of-life conversations. There will be those people, you say it once, twice, three, it gets to a point whereby you think, actually, this is assault. You can't impose it on people.
As a palliative medicine friend of mine once said, it's a moral crime to waste the time of a dying person, and I think sometimes professionals don't remember that.
We knew I was going to die young and shouldn't have made 17, I'm now 27, but it took a professional coming into our home and telling us it was okay to talk about death, and we weren't giving up, we weren't being negative. If we can give people the confidence to show them that it's not a morbid conversation, actually it's about what matters to you, what makes your life worth living, what would you want for yourself in an ideal world, and just try and capture that over time.
I suppose it's about grabbing opportunities rather than shying away from them, because sometimes it's easier to shy away, but there can often be quite a relief in the room when you do go there. What I did with my family was I used this symbol system, Talking Mats, and we looked at all the different aspects of what they would consider, what they wouldn't consider, and they were both able to express different views, and we just revisit that every year.
We need to talk about it. People don't talk about death. I don't know, maybe, like I said, when I first came here, I was petrified going anywhere near the mortuary because it's the unknown. I'll never forget this undertaker. He came one day and he said, why are you shaking? What are you scared for? I said, because the body. Right? He said, why? I said, I don't know. That's the thing, he said, you don't know. The person you've got to be worried about is not the dead, it's the living.
I think like a lot of things, it's easier when you do it than you think it's going to be, and actually it's the fear of doing it is a lot worse than actually just kind of jumping in and giving it a try.
Food and drink are very important to me, so in the last days, weeks of life, I think that will still be an important aspect. Even if I can't eat or drink very much, I quite like salt and vinegar crisps, so that would be something that I'd like to taste. Little tastes of food, maybe even dark chocolate or something like that.
I'd love to have flowers around me. My mummy loved yellow roses, and I do too, and I would love the room to be full of yellow roses.
Like usually just a big party or something like that, everyone getting smashed, it'd be hilarious. As
Done.
many people as you want, like, free bar.
Being brought up in Wales, I think I would love to be in Wales, somewhere sort of in the countryside in North Wales actually. Ideally with my family, or my partner at least.
Personally, I would love to spend the last few weeks of my life in the club lounge at the Mandarin Oriental Hotel in Singapore drinking champagne. That would be my ideal, with my partner with me. Probably not going to happen, but it gives you an idea of what's important in my life.
During COVID, it's never been clearer that having sensitive and compassionate conversations about what matters most to a person is crucial.
I think we should all have a think about what matters most to us in our life.
What matters to me conversation can take place in different settings. It can be around the dinner table, in the pub, with your GP, or when you go to college, when you get married, when you have a baby, when you retire. These are all life-changing moments, and it's the time to have the conversation about the greatest life-changing moment.
Let's get talking
about what matters to you.